It's time for Around the Ozarks Sports Scene, sponsored by Thompson Sales, Fast Break Sports, and The Pitch. Here's your host, Scott Puryear.
Welcome in to another edition of Around the Ozarks Sports Scene. I am Scott Puryear. As always, big thank you to our listeners and viewers for tuning in this week as we talk sports in the Ozarks. Kind of a sad day today because we're saying goodbye to Wyatt Wheeler, one of our frequent contributors and favorite guests here, a good friend of mine that has accepted a job with the Topeka Capital-Journal. He's leaving the Springfield News-Leader after 10 years. And Wyatt, what's this week been like so far as the announcement actually came out from you yesterday?
Oh, overwhelming. It was, I knew it was coming. I started calling around Sunday night. You already knew, but started calling around to people who I wanted to hear it from me first instead of wake up in the morning and read it. So I made a few of those calls, sent a few of those text messages, and woke up yesterday morning to just so many nice messages and everything, and just the random phone calls I'm getting, whether it's driving to my final Missouri State early week press conference ahead of a game and getting a call from Beth Cunningham, and just hearing from friends and people that I haven't heard from in a while. And I spent 5 hours last night responding to Twitter messages and text me. I still haven't even gotten to one of my phones as far as texting back. So it's completely overwhelming, but so thankful for everybody. And it's just been a very emotional, so many emotions going through and memories coming back as I hear from people from over my 10 years down here. So it's been difficult, but just exciting a little bit at the same time as I prepare for a new chapter.
The hardest thing for me was not breaking the news on Twitter or X, with the breaking when I found out several days before, but, decided maybe I'd let you have your moment, instead. But that would have been earth shattering, I think, for people to hear from somebody other than you. So we declined that.
There are some people I had to wait on telling. I don't know if I've told you the story before, but Art Haynes almost ruined my engagement to Abby because he called her a month before and said, "I think I have a congratulations in order for you." When I was texting him about coming, being at our get together after I proposed, so he did that. And then I run into Bill Rowe at a thing right after our honeymoon. And he's like, "Hey, I heard you might be leaving." I'm like, "Where'd you hear that? I haven't even visited Manhattan yet." And he's like, "Well, I heard it from Tom Ladd." And I was like, "Oh, who'd Tom Ladd hear it from?" Art Haynes, because he has dinner with the Haynes family pretty frequently. So it's just like, Art. So I called Art Sunday.
Why now? I mean, why K-State and why now? What was the impetus for? I mean, you just got married July 19th to a Springfield girl. We'll talk more about that here in a little bit, how that all came to fruition. But what was the driving force behind the decision that now's the time?
About a year ago, the other news outlet in town tried to come get me, and when they were going after me, I looked at that as that's a long-term commitment to Springfield. And I didn't think that was fair to Abby, who's been here her entire life. She's wanted to move. She's wanted to explore a little bit, just get out of here for a little bit. And, I approached people in the USA Today network because it's a little more complicated than people realize as far as what sports is compared to what news is. Sports is kind of branched off into something different to where my editors aren't in Springfield. So I approached them and I said, I don't want to go. I've loved working with the people here. And I asked them for frequent meetings with editors within USA Today, and to help accelerate my career path. And and they've made it happen. I meet weekly with one of the top leaders in sports editors at the network. And, I've seen some things in my reporting improve over the last year, and have learned a ton. So I've worked with him super close, and he knew I would want something eventually. These just a few jobs opened up that they interviewed me for, and they decided Kansas State was one that I fit in. And at the same time, looking at a lot of the stuff with the Missouri State job, and high school job, that life wasn't sustainable. Getting married to Abby, covering 50 plus high schools, a Missouri State school that's in a transition going from FCS to FBS. There's so much there. Just the high schools, as much as I love the high schools, love the kids and coaches, just the time commitment there, it started to weigh on me a lot. When I'm trying to do as much as I can for Missouri State as well. I would like to have my post-Christmas, as far as spending hours in blue and gold. I skipped jamborees the other night and had a Friday night with Abby. And it's just like, do you like me having me home on a Friday night during a football season? And she said no. The life that I was living, trying to keep up with every single little thing and being as good as I can be with every little thing, it was getting to me. And there's also the point, you talked about it, there's the routine that things start to feel like, whether it's, you go to a jamboree, you go to a Nixa game, and it feels like you're writing the same story. You're going to Missouri State and you're covering attendance problems for the 10th year in a row, and you're writing the same story. You're driving to a press conference, you're going to ask the same questions. So it's as much change as there has been. It's some of those things, whether it's Missouri State with the FBS transition and some of those, and seeing the growth that excited about for Patrick Ransdell, Biff Williams over there. The time it was not sustainable when I'm trying to have a happy and successful marriage. And for my own mental health, I've been open about depression and everything. And, very early on, this job is why I got help for it in the first place. Just because of how much pressure I put on myself and how overwhelming it is. So it wasn't sustainable to the point where, when they said Kansas State's a good spot for you and somewhere we'd like you to be and be successful, it's somewhere I knew I could be successful, just as far as knowing what coverage I would give that and the things that I like about that job, whether it's having a Big 12 contender on the football field, having a basketball team that has a ton of investment, having a women's basketball team that's good, and a baseball program that's on the rise. Just knew I could do really good there. It's not too far from family as far as the 4 hours to drive from Manhattan to Springfield. We'll be around plenty, and just having family here, and this seemed like the ideal spot when I'm having editors trying to progress me through the USA Today network. And who knows I recognize that's probably not a forever thing in USA Today network, and that there's others out there maybe for the future. But when you look at jobs in USA Today network, as far as being close to Springfield, Power 4, there's Kansas State, Kansas, and Arkansas, and the Kansas State and Arkansas jobs are filled. Who knows how long those will come open, and this was an opportunity to jump and get into the Power 4, which I've wanted to be for a while. So lots of reasons behind it, but that's pretty much the quick notes about it.
The timing is not great. With you picking up a Power 4 college football program, in their case, one game into their season. I assume that there was a writer that they had that just decided here late that it was time for a change too.
Yeah, they had a retirement that went into effect August 1st. So,
Okay.
so yeah, and I've told people about the timing, and that almost made me not take the job because I hate leaving Missouri, especially with the historical nature of what's going on at MSU.
Yeah.
Hate leaving that right now. I don't know if there'll be a reporter in for the SMU game, which is one of the biggest sporting events in that school's history. They're not going to win, but that's one of that's historic. There's still the high school kids at the same time. There's a Nixa team that people are saying is going to be the state champion favorite this year. There's all 6 classes have a school that's in the region that's capable of making a run to state. So it's difficult. It was really hard. I had some conversations with a lot of people. I was leaning no on the week before I accepted the job, but I had conversations with people around the country who called and gave me some advice. And when these jobs don't come open all the time, and you got to take them when they're available if you want to get to that level. So that's once I started hearing that and thinking that more and more, that's when it started to sit in me that this is what I wanted. Me and Abby made the trip to Manhattan. I didn't tell her what I wanted to do because I was just so up in the air. And I let her make a decision for herself because she's more important in this than anything to me. So it was very stressful, very emotional to make some of these decisions, and the timing sucks, and I hate it incredibly much. But got to look after yourself sometimes, and that's something I haven't done really for the last 10 years.
I guess your first order of business is to restore order with K-State. They lose the opener in Ireland by a field goal to Iowa State, their rival, in the week 0 game. And you got your quarterback's dad and brother fighting, fist fight outside the stadium. First thing you got to do, I guess, is mend those fences. And you're kind of walking into probably a little angry program right now about starting 0-1, are you not?
Well, I've on the down low, I've been covering them for the last week or so. So okay. So I've been doing a lot of remote work, trying to get familiarized myself with a lot of things. Have been writing for them have been covering, 3 different jobs as far as Missouri State high schools and Kansas State right now. So I did cover them last week. And so my dad calls right after that stuff is going viral. He's like, "You're not already writing stuff that's going to ruffle some feathers, or are you?" And I'm like, I was just like, "Well, they kind of made it to where I have to a little bit." And he's just like, it's like the night it's going viral. It's like, I don't know how to confirm any of this. Is that Avery Johnson's dad? I've never seen him in my life. Oh, that's his brother too. So it's like, I don't think Kansas State's going to like if my first call's to them being like, so do you have any comment on this quarterback thing?
Are we okay here? Yeah.
Yeah. But I guess thankfully they put out their statement confirming everything and apologizing for it. And just been a little bit funny of a start to this, but I'm just excited to watch that brand of football. Just defensive, hard hitting, everything. They're going to be a really good team. They're kind of behind everything right now, starting 0-1 in the Big 12 already, to where not much room for error at the moment when they're going to be competing with the Texas Techs, Arizona States, and some of those type of teams. But there's going to be it'll be fun to get down there. And I noticed they didn't make Avery Johnson available to the guys who are working yesterday. So it's
probably a good move. Yeah.
Probably a good move.
The irony of all this is you're ending your News-Leader career. Your last story will be covering a coach that I despise, Lincoln Riley. And then you're going your first games you'll cover will be a program that I feared at the end of my OU Big 12 run because we couldn't beat K-State. It was a thorn in the side. But will you be going to LA for this game? Or are you riding remotely, or what's the plan with the Bears and USC?
I'm going to Los Angeles.
Right.
So I'm they've made that happen a few months back when they understood the historical nature, and just it's nice to get a non-refundable ticket right there.
Yeah.
So it's just like, well, we already paid for this, so we'll send you over
Pressure. Yeah.
there. And get this, Scott. So Kansas State hosts North Dakota this week in their home opener. Somebody's covering that for me. I have help.
Nice.
I have help in Topeka. So I mean, that's the first time I've heard that in 10 years. And it's I'll go cover Missouri State one last time and get to hang out in LA for a couple days. So and then when I get back, me and Abby are moving into our new apartment in Manhattan on September 11th. So I'm going to drive over for the Army game. That's Saturday before for K-State and Army. So we'll get my first taste of that. Then we'll be moving in later in the week. So just a ton to do right before then.
Now, where are they? Excuse me. Where are they on September 13th? They being K-State.
They will be in Arizona on September 12th, and I'm going to cover that remotely.
Any chance you can get back for the 13th?
We're going to be moving in. I don't. There's a part of me that wants to. There's also a part of me that doesn't, because I'm just going to be standing there, being like, "Wish I was covering this." And but national television is going to be a nice thing for Missouri State for this. And, I want to help Abby get settled in as much as possible. I think my family's coming. Her family's going to be there to help out as well. I know Her dad's planning on doing a extra car when we're going down there an extra car going down there so that he can get back. So it hurts. I know I'm going to have major FOMO, but, I think there's going to be some. I need to try to get myself unattached to covering so much down here, and I think my bosses kind of want me to do that as well.
And I know you're so close to Art Haynes, and of course his last game with his alma mater SMU coming in on the 13th should be a special day, and I know that Kelsey Tolbert and Patrick Ransdale and all the folks over there, I'm sure, are planning some kind of a recognition. But to one of the legends of our lives, I mean, he started here before I did, and I've been here 40 years. And, the immense respect I have for Art Haynes trickles over to you, and it just kind of shows his status, kind of like a Ned Reynolds, that, those are kind of the Mount Rushmore guys in this town. And you're going to respect him till the very end. And I know that you'll be watching from afar if you're not here that night to see what happens, right?
Yeah, I'll be listening. Tuning in for that radio broadcast and hearing him introduce himself for the last time, hearing him sign off for the last time is, that love's not going anywhere.
Sure.
He's been so amazing to me in my life. His show introduced me to my freaking wife, man. So it's.
I was there. I watched it develop from a seedling. In the Monday night, sitting in for Art during his illness and watching the goo eyes going back and forth from I say goo eyes when she would raise up from her computer screen and her online shopping. If you remember, that was a big deal during the and she loved countdowns. She loved to do the countdown back from break. Yeah. Well, I think I instituted the 15 countdown and she hated that, right?
I believe we still say around the Wheeler household that we love me some Mondays.
Yeah.
So that's a staple. But it's it's that and I've right before we started recording, I was on with Ned and Tom, and they asked me where we're doing radio ranked up there, and it's just like, I knew I wanted to write, and that weighed on me a ton after Art got out, but I had a lot of fun with people like you, people like Corey Riggs, and they paid me to hang out with Art Haynes for 2 hours a day, and introduced me to my wife. So it's I'm forever grateful for that, and it's just one of those things that comes back to mind when I'm thinking about the memories that have come through.
Yeah, I was very disappointed that you only got to 450 on your list of people to thank. I mean, you couldn't get to 500, really?
Man,
450? That's an
well,
odd number to stop at.
I just started listing them, and there's families in there, so that kind of adds on a little bit. But
that's true. Yeah.
I am coming off. I'm interacting with people that I missed. That's such an incredible thing that there's just been so many people, and that's the thing that I'll miss the most, and it makes this the hardest is the number of people, then kids and coaches that I've just come to love over the last 10 years. And just thinking about the memories, whether it's, Zach Howell reached out, one of Drury's best players going into this year. He was over at Catholic, and I just remember the late, great Rob Anders calling me from a Milwaukee airport when I'm driving down to see my family for Easter. And having to pull over on the side of the road because Rob had Zach Howell right there with him. And he's like, hey, Zach Howell just committed to Milwaukee. Here you go. And just talking to him in one of his happiest moments of his life, and just being able to celebrate that with a great kid. I think about Rob a lot with a lot of these kids because he helped develop so many of them. And the pain that was and continues to be, being able to see a lot of those kids these last week, and they had a reunion in town, and seeing someone like Cannon Gibson, also at Drury, a point guard for Rogersville back in the day, just seeing him grow up as a person, and just seeing how much he's matured and grown up. Just kind of an ornery little point guard that thought he knew everything in John Schaefer's system. Back in high school, and just seeing him develop, grow up as a person. Bella Fauneroy was there, and I don't know if you've had her on the show, but just an incredible kid. Probably the most mature kid I've ever come across, and just watching her have success. And Big 12 now, so I'm going to have a reason to watch Bella and cheer her on. As she's going to be one of the standouts at Baylor her final year. So, just the number of people is just endless, and I'm just so thankful for everyone. And I get a call from Beth Cunningham on the way to covering Missouri State's press conference yesterday, and just the endless amount of people that I'm going to be a huge fan of going forward. That it's going to be hard not to cover, but just going to be a huge fan from afar.
Let's talk about your new age journalism compared to when as an old guy. And it took me, I didn't know anything about you when you took the job 10 years ago, other than I thought you looked like a mini version of Opie Taylor, actually a grown-up version of Opie Taylor from Mayberry RFD and Happy Days later with Richie Cunningham. But, I grew up and came out of college at an age where I worked with Marty Edelman and Larry Hazelrig and Lyndall Scranton and Steve Kaler and Ron Sylvester, Warren Mays, all these guys that had done it for a while. And there were 8 to 10 of us on a staff in most of my 20 years at the News-Leader from 1985 to 2005. And I made the transition 9 years into, from sports writer to columnist. And it was two different styles of writing. I mean, I would go to a game and Lyndall Scranton would write the game story and I would write my opinion or, a sidebar type story with a lot of interjection of what I thought and things like that. Journalism now, from the minute you stepped on the scene here in the Ozarks, it's almost like it's been a combination of your opinion with reporting, with entertaining all into one. And was that something you were taught? Was that just you and your style? Because it was a big transition, I think, and part of that, I think, is born out of the fact that while there were 6 to 8 to 10 of us, there's one of you in the sports department. So you had to be the columnist. You had to be the reporter. You had to be all that. talk about how that approach affected you with the things you learned in journalism along the way.
Yeah, they didn't teach that at MSU, but it came with having to develop in the job and what they asked of you, especially when you're the only one. And there's some things that I tried to balance the line with incredibly, that made it difficult. You never saw a story from me that said that this place needs to fire this person. As much as or you can lay out reasons like, hey, here, like reasons why this might happen, reasons why this person should stay, and try to just kind of show it in a different way. But I never really went out and did that. I wrote columns. You had to do the analysis pieces. That's just what people read these days. And we have early on, it wasn't like network wide stuff. It was more in-house. I was taking direction from people in Springfield. But you would also watch the trends and see and get on calls with some of the network stuff. And, analysis pieces were what people read, as far as this is why this team's going to win this day, why this team's going to lose, predictions and everything. It's just what people read. And then, you write the good stories when they come. You write the investigative pieces when they come. And, my opinion doesn't show up in those.
Yeah.
Whether it's some of those crime stories, whether it's those investigative ones, you try to present that without putting your opinion in there. When I wrote columns, it was more something on my heart, something that I wanted to stick up for. I told you that I probably would have stuck up for Josh Scott in the last few weeks if it wasn't for just departure and everything. I didn't really that would have been a difficult thing to leave with. It would be a lot of people coming after me because they took something the wrong way when I was trying to be as mindful to kids as possible. But it's a hard balance, and you learn how to do it. You see what works, see what doesn't. You try not to inject your opinion in your stories. You try to, and I know it comes across that way with however the storylines are going, but you kind of get a feel for what your readership is feeling right there. I try to stick up for the readers as much as possible, as far as, if there's a bad basketball season, or if things are not going the way they should be as far as fan experience or interactions, you write about that. You ask those hard questions, and you be a voice for the people who don't have as loud of a voice. So, and just kind of talking in circles a little bit, it feels like, but it's just it's something that you develop, you learn, and you try to do as good as you can. You're not going to be perfect on a lot of those. You're not going to pick the right things to do all the time. But you try to do it with your heart, and you try to do it with your readers in mind. And that's all I ever tried to do.
And thinking about it, using KY3 as an example, you have to be Ashley Reynolds, Chad Pline, and Ned Reynolds all combined.
Yeah.
Sully Engel now with the new sports editor or sports. What do they call that?
Director?
Sports director. Yeah. And because there are three of them, there's one of you. And I thought you did it very well. And I've said so in social media, which brings up another point, social media. That was something I never had to deal with because we didn't have it. When I went to Drury, I was on the front edge of getting it started over there. So I had to learn about it. But from the get-go, you've had a strong presence on what used to be called Twitter, now X. And, you do just random thoughts, silly things, your ongoing one-way feud with Pizza Ranch, and the people of Terre Haute and things like that. How quickly did you learn that Twitter could become a platform to you to increase your readership with the people that were paying you to put a product in the newspaper and online?
So I had an editor at the Standard when I first started, Eli Wollenhouse, and he was very obsessed with Twitter. Showed me TweetDeck very early on, and I've had TweetDeck open ever since. So it's been I realized that's a quick way to learn and try to find breaking news, because it happens in there all the time, whether it's recruiting is so big on there, and just these different things that pop up, the viral stuff, as we mentioned earlier, K-State right now, and that's happened at Missouri. There's been some viral stuff that pops up at Missouri State. So you're just keeping an eye on everything. And I just tried to be me on there. I just tried to be open about who I was, be myself, as weird as I can be, as stupid as some of the things I say, some of the polls that I throw up, and it's just interacting with people and showing them that I'm not above anybody because I had this sports reporter title. I wanted to be someone who could ask the questions that they wanted to hear, they wanted answers to. I wanted to be someone that they could have fun with, and that's what I've tried to do every day on this job, is make everything as fun as possible. And this wouldn't be something I loved if it wasn't fun. And those interactions with everybody all the time, as much as I'm on there, as much crap as Abby gives me for being on there all the time, I've made friends on there. Even if I haven't met some of these people, they're people that I care about and enjoy seeing the happiness in their lives. And at the same time, we're talking sports. And I've always heard that, like, Twitter can sometimes be like watching a game at the bar with your friends. It's just you bringing a lot of people. It brings a lot of people together. I know it divides a lot of people in some ways, but it's something I've always tried to just spread fun, happiness, and love on there, while letting them know who I was. And and at the same time, I'm talking great about these kids. I'm telling people how good these kids are, and celebrating whether it's Chase Branham having success where he is, and I've been able to, with the responses I've been getting ever since this was announced, just like celebrate a Cayman Beckemeyer for who she is, and Joey Hawkins and what he's doing, and and that's just how I've used it. At the same time, trying to break some news and helping people get to read my stuff when that's part of the job, and trying to entertain and be myself with them as much as possible, just to where they feel like I'm one of their friends as well.
Well, you have let people behind the curtain. You talked about your battles with depression and anxiety, and the one thing, when you do a list of 450 people, there's probably 400 people are like, why am I not on that list?
Yeah.
And one of the things with you, have you ever worried about crossing the line of friendship with athletes and coaches to where, people might question, could you write the tough story about them, things like that, because it is a different age, and you are the only guy. And you do get close to these people. Has that been, because you're very much a people person, has that been a challenge for you from a journalistic sense at some points to say, okay, I kind of need to soft pedal this a little bit?
Yeah. I mean, you're always balancing that line.
Yeah.
But I watch you, and I've thought about this before. I watch you and some of the people that you covered, and just the way you've been able to be friends with them, and have relationships with them long after you've been done. And I've always respected that. And that's something that, I'm going to want with some of these people, just because they're that good of people, and they've had that kind of impact on my life. I cheer on so many of those kids that are over at Drury right now, but that hasn't made me go over and cover a lot of Drury, and
Yeah.
as much, and I wish I could have had time to be able to do every single thing for everybody in this town. But I was also doing the job that was required of me, which said Drury there isn't as much interest in a Drury game as going to another bad Missouri State game. So I've had to balance that, and that's been something that's weighed on me for my entire time here. But whenever, and I wrote this in my column at the top, just kind of my anecdote and my goodbye was just like, I've always talked about being a fan of people rather than the teams. I'm a big John Perry fan. I'm a big fan of Mitch McHenry and John Schaefer, and just you go down the line of all these teams and coaches and players that I've been able to become close to. But at the same time, John Perry, when he's winning, that's the big story in town. That's when they're 9-0 going on these runs. At the same time, I'm trying to balance it out and not go to every single blowout Nixa decides to put on a team. But it's a big story with a huge following. That city loves its Eagles. Every teams around here, people around here still want to know what's going on with the Eagles. They have the number one recruit in the country. So it's difficult to go about a lot of that. You're around there, and people are going to think you have favoritism towards those, and they're a ton of fun to cover, but they're also winning, and that makes it fun a lot of the times.
That leads to clicks, yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, I think of some of the things I've had to write involving Missouri State men's basketball. Conzo Martin is somebody that I respect more than probably anybody in this town, just because of the person he seems to be. And it's hard to write this past season, just like, is this going to work out? Is just this non-conference basketball schedule that they put out. It's just like it's difficult to be critical of a lot of those things because you respect those people so much, but you still got to do it a little bit because you're sticking up for your readers and everything. I had a great relationship with Dana Ford those first few years. And just as much as some of that kind of deteriorate with how bad basketball got, or just some of those years were worse than others, or just kind of seeing the interest from the fans. That last year wasn't fun. Some of the investigative pieces you got to write too. It's not easy. It's something that. That's where I wish I had a columnist. I wish I had somebody else writing some of the news stories. But that I still have respect for him. I wish him the best in his coaching career. It's just one of those things that was difficult. But you got to do the job first and foremost. If somebody needs investigated, you do it. And you stick up you do things for your readers.
Well, and I think back, I had beat writers, and I sit in rooms today with people I covered 25 years ago, and I know they still harbor, hurt feelings over things I wrote. That was my job. Yeah. And Linda would write the game story. I had to be the guy that, good or bad, had to tell my opinion of it, and by the same token, I didn't have social media to deal with or worry about, where they could have just come after me, and just slandered me and my family and everything else with no repercussions. So it's a trade-off. And I think you've balanced it very well, because you do report, you do give your opinions, but you're also very fair with the readers and the people you cover as well. And kind of morphing into wrapping this up, because we've talked a lot of Missouri State, and you spent a lot of time prepping for this year before the job change. What do you see for the football Bears in this move to Conference USA? What do you see from Missouri State athletics going forward with Patrick Ransdell? And I really like Kelsey Tolbert and the ideas she's bringing to the marketing table. Biff Williams, an athletic-minded president. just kind of give me what you see from Missouri State in the present and the future with this administration and these coaches in place.
I'm excited for fans, and that's something I've never been able to say before. Just, the word that I keep going back to when I've been watching some of these things is vision. Whether it's some of the renderings they put out, whether it's some of the things that they've already implemented, they have a vision that's forward thinking, that's attempting new things, that's willing to fail and then try something different to try to make it successful. I'm seeing that for the first time at Missouri State since covering this. In the past, it's just been, let's keep doing this and just assume winning is going to do something. You can't just sit still. And I think that's when they went out and found Biff, I think that was part of what they were looking for. When Biff went out and found Patrick, I think that's what he was looking for. The previous administration, good people, cared about their family, care about their families in the universities, great to the athletes, great to the coaches. But they just didn't. They just sat on their hands a little bit too much when it came to, letting basketball letting the men's basketball program get the way it is right now. They still let football get to how low it was before they were able to land on Bobby Petrino and being able to do a lot of the stuff that they're doing right now. But the people in there right now are responsible for making this work. That's the hard part, is making sure this doesn't turn into an epic failure that costs the university so much money. So I'm excited to see how it grows. I'm excited in the future to come back to see how they've made a men's basketball game fun to attend. How they've made how football has continued to grow, and what kind of facilities they can put up around here. Ryan Beard is somebody I'll be a big fan of. He's been incredible to work with, and I've gotten to know him since he came here with Bobby. Nick Petrino is such a great offensive mind that Missouri State's just going to be trying to hang on to him as long as they can. And, it's not going to be easy, just looking at the roster depth and size and the athleticism they're going to need to continue to add to be a successful FBS program. That's going to take time, and I think fans realize that. I think everybody realizes that, because that's just the way this transition goes. But
and I mean, there's 2-10 or 3-9 incoming.
Yeah.
But your old fans that have always poo-pooed Bears football, here we go again. But it's going to take time, and you're stepping up in that level. You're a 35-point underdog at Southern Cal on Saturday for a reason.
Yes, so that's going to take some time. I don't think because they challenged Arkansas a few years back, that means they're going to go in here and set the world on fire. I don't think because they've challenged a few of these teams, they're going to go in there and set the world on fire. I'm excited to watch Jacob Clark this year. I am excited to see if he can end up in the NFL, end up on a practice squad, or just kind of where that takes him. He's been fun to get to know. Ryan does a great job with the local kids. I'm excited for Caden Weist. I think he's a breakout kid. Who knows where he can end up if he has a breakout year. So that there's just
Forbacher moves into the number 2 quarterback role now.
Cole Forbacher ran into him after Beard told us he was a backup the other day, and just expressed my excitement to him for how much he's grown. JJ O'Neal is one of the cooler stories in Southwest Missouri, as far as going from a walk-on to being just being a leader in that secondary for them. So I'm excited. The growth would have been the cool thing to be able to cover around here. It would have it could take 15 years. But I think they have the people in place, and to try to make it, that's going to give them the best shot at making it work. So I'm excited for Missouri State fans.
Well, it's been a pleasure getting to know you and work with you and have you on here, and fun doing the radio, and wish you and Abby nothing but the best. I will say this, that you're going into a Big 12 conference that Eric Bailey, a former colleague of mine, knows every great place to eat in every one of those towns. So you and Bailey need to hook up and talk about the little restaurants and establishments in each of those. And that's kind of nice having a guy, a News-Leader alum as well, that you can lean on for some early advice on those deals, isn't it?
Well, Eric as you introduced him every time we had him on the radio, just the best human being in sports journalism.
It's almost sickening, you know.
It's sickening. I don't know, like you,
Bailey dirt.
I can't imagine he's written a bad word about anybody.
No.
I mean, he goes in to write about Mike Gundy of all people, and it's
Jesus prays to Eric Bailey every night before he goes to sleep.
Oh, I know. He's one of the best. So
yeah.
I got to interact with him a little bit when Missouri State played Oklahoma during that COVID year, and just amazing person. So I'm excited to get to interact with him a little bit. And I'm going to be going down to K-State at Oklahoma State, so I know I'm going to have to get some cheese fries while I'm down there at that Oklahoma, or what is it? It's
Eskimo Joe's.
Eskimo Joe's, yes.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to go down to Eskimo Joe's and ask him for some of the other great places, because I'll be traveling a little bit more on this job.
Well, I'll tell you what we'll do is we'll get you and Bailey on at the same time to talk football sometime later on this year, because the podcasts won't stop with us. But wish you the best and appreciate our friendship and just the voice you brought to the Ozarks the last 10 years, and best of luck to you, buddy.
You know, me and Abby have so much love for you and everything you've done for us. I'm sorry you have to deal with her every time she drives past one of your mini billboards around town. She is very annoying, and I have to live with that. But we love you. You're a great friend to us, and I know we'll be talking plenty.
You bet, absolutely. And I need a T-shirt that says I survived the 130-degree Wheeler wedding back in July outdoors there. So if you've got one of those, send it my way, okay?
I've got you covered.
All right. Hey, best of luck to you, and we'll talk soon, okay?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Wyatt Wheeler, again, 10-year career at the News-Leader, about to end here with his Missouri State coverage at the Southern Cal game this Saturday. Headed to cover K-State athletics for the Topeka Capital-Journal, staying in the Gannett chain there, and we wish him nothing but the best. Time to thank our sponsors, as we do each week. We sure appreciate them. Fast Break Sports, they're at 3109 South Campbell. They are your home for all things sports memorabilia, cards, collectibles. They've got it. They've got the supplies to keep your football, baseball cards in perfect condition. Go see the folks at Fast Break Sports. The Pitch Pizza and Pub. They're in the Southern Hills Shopping Center, just off East Sunshine. Your great stopping point for lunch or dinner with their pizzas, the calzones, the appetizers, tremendous smoked wings there. It's a fun atmosphere. TVs everywhere, frosty beverages. They've got meeting spaces. Give Brian Bevel and his folks a call if you need to set up a special event there at the Pitch Pizza and Pub. And lastly, our latest sponsor, Thompson Sales. They're located at 1555 East Independence in Springfield. They're your home for GMC, Buick, and Cadillac cars and trucks, new and used. I've bought cars there for 30 years, dating back to the 80s, because the service is unmatched in the auto world here in the Ozarks from Thompson Sales. The Thompson boys have been dealing since 1919. Go check them out for your next vehicle purchase, Thompson Sales. That's going to do it for this week. I appreciate everybody tuning in. We will see you next week on Around the Ozarks Sports Scene.